I hope you've had the best Christmas ever if you celebrate. For my family, we kind of celebrate everything around here, and in this new vlog style format, I wanted to show you what we had for Christmas dinner. I know there's a lot of curious people out there, so let me show you what we had for Christmas dinner as a primarily vegan household, and there's a little bit of seafood here. The caterer for this year was Whole Foods. I've done them a few years in a row. I do cook myself, and I'm actually a really good home cook, and I, find pleasure and joy in cooking. However, when it's a really big meal like this with 10 different dishes and a lot of people I'm serving, it's just easier to serve a catered meal, and I can always cook later for New Year celebrations, for example. So it's not something that takes me out of cooking for the holidays, but it's something that adds a lot of convenience and ease to my life. And again, being a full-time lawyer with my own law firm, I'm not taking any time off for the holidays. I actually work harder than usual to close matters at end of year. So it's just a super convenient situation. And this meal, compared to other meals, other catered meals I've shopped around, they're fairly transparent with their ingredient list and things like that. So it's not a meal that I've ever felt guilty about feeding to my family. First off, I almost want to apologize for the setting we're in. As you guys know, I'm a car lover. This is not one of the cars I love that I'm in right now, other than loving the functionality it provides for my family. This is like the trash truck on wheels for my family. So ignore the ding it upness. We went out as a family today to pick this meal up. So I had to take my absolute worst car because there's kids kicking and screaming, there's groceries, there's errands we're running. Okay, let's talk about the catering order. So I ordered a few items. In terms of entree itself, main meal, I ordered the vegan meal from Whole Foods this year, and actually for the first time in 3 or 4 years they changed it. They used to have kind of like a vegan loaf with some grain and vegetable mixture. This year I found it interesting. I wonder if they received complaints or it's just a stylistic choice, but this year it was think of a beef Wellington but the vegan edition, and with a little bit less sophisticated pastry. So it's some simple pastry on the outside, and the stuffing inside is supposed to be a mushroom situation. So that's the first thing that comes. I'm going to show you the meal first, okay, and then all the top-ups I added, so that you're clear on what came with what. And then these potatoes, they're called fingerling potatoes, but they're the small but longer than they are wide kind of potatoes. This is a very stable choice at Whole Foods. It's never bad. And that again is part of the vegan meal. Also part of the vegan meal is this squash and cranberry situation. I feel like squash is very traditional to eat in the colder months of the year, so it's something I do enjoy having, and it's a little bit more involved nutritionally than a simple potato. Although there's nothing wrong with potatoes, we literally consume them in so many forms in our daily lives, but the squash is something I do like from Whole Foods. And it's one of those, mental tricks, you feel like you're healthier because you're eating squash as opposed to a French fry. But everybody has their own preferences, but I do like that one. Green beans, I feel are a classic. Are they the food that you're ever craving at the dinner table? I don't think so. But Whole Foods green beans, again, these items it's funny. You can phrase it in terms of how good is it, and that might garner a different answer than from the reality, as a busy person and the convenience this provides me. I can definitely let you know that none of this food tastes bad. In terms of how good, they each hit different points. Some items taste better than others. And obviously the mushroom loaf I've never tasted. But none of these are bad. These are all things, trying to word it in so many different ways. These are all items I'd be proud to serve to a guest. I wouldn't be don't touch that tray. So again, this is still all part of the vegan meal. In that meal comes a very interesting vegan mushroom gravy, which I do like. It's kind of like a twist on a mushroom soup, because, it doesn't have the animal factors to really thicken it up. I don't know if you can tell as I jiggle that. It's fairly liquidy, but again, it's good, right? None of these are bad. None of these are bad items, and some of them are quite tasty. Pumpkin curry soup. This one is pretty good. What I like about this one, so Whole Foods, I find sometimes, maybe because of the demographic it goes after, it's a little more subdued and careful in its flavors. The curry soup is a soup that actually has, we're starting to get toward the higher end of the spectrum on flavor, and I really like that. We used to get the lobster bisque soup as well, in case you've looked at their Christmas catering and you've seen that option. I've decided against this one this year because it always left me longing for more. Like, there were no lobster chunks in it. It was just like a very smooth grind, which it just feels a little, and this isn't commentary on the Whole Foods lobster bisque, but any lobster bisque or seafood bisque that you're expecting the seafood, but instead you just get like a grind, it comes across a little bit mystery meat, and I don't love that feeling. So that was the curry soup. Now, in terms of top-ups, okay, the first top-up I purchased, and I'm not sure if this is vegan or not, so the reason we're vegan as a family, I mean, there's a few of them, but the health reasons are undeniable. However, for us, that being said, I'm also, as somebody that one of my majors in undergrad was philosophy, I'm very well aware of the concept of everything in moderation. So would I ever go entirely vegan? I mean, I would get close to it, right? And I am close to it. But you'd always be afraid of, what if, the secret to life was actually fish all along? What if the secret to life was this and that? Are there foods that are definite no-nos for me? Yes. Usually those foods are red meat. Like, I have not had red meat in years and years kind of thing. That's a fairly serious one. Poultries, things like that. Dairy is something that I try to avoid at all costs, but the thing with dairy that is tempting for a lot of us, I don't find something like red meat or chicken tasty because I have such a mental blockage in looking at that food in front of me. I won't say what it reminds me of because I don't know if I'm allowed to be as graphic as I'd like to be on YouTube. But something like dairy, I mean, if you've read the studies, dairy is as addictive to the receptors in our mind as literal drugs. I don't know if I can say that word. So dairy is something that I might be having, 2 or 3 times a year. And this dip is an artichoke and spinach dip. This dip undeniably has dairy in it. I imagine some sort of cream cheese. Yeah, the first ingredient is pasteurized cream and skim milk. So this has dairy. Again, it's one of 2 or 3 times in the year that I'm having dairy. The bulk of this meal is vegan. Am I gonna, punish myself for it? No, I allow myself to eat things I want if I really want them. But again, the health considerations of veganism are top of mind. And not just to say health considerations I've read about and stuff like that. I've been doing this for so long that it's health considerations I've experienced as well. Okay, so the spinach dip was the first top up. Another top up is the butterflake rolls. Okay. Another funny, I don't think I've ever said this on my channel, but I do try to be gluten-free as much as possible owing to certain health situations that I have. It's one of those things, like, you grow past 21 and I feel like we've all got 7 diagnoses piling on every year. And one of mine, or some of mine, are such that they could benefit from eating less gluten, okay, or even being gluten-free entirely. And we can talk about those in another video. If there's interest for that, let me know. If you want to talk about explicit knowledge I have, having studied nutrition extensively, being as educated as I am, being as experienced as I am with different diets, things like that. But anyways, so gluten-free is something I take seriously. And again, for health benefits, thankfully, it's not the situation where I have to be gluten-free or I'll have a reaction. I mean, an immediate reaction, right? Because of the health conditions I have, gluten does exacerbate them if I go too heavy on the gluten in terms of if I'm having it every day. So it does actually hurt my health overall. And worded alternatively, it does benefit my health overall to be gluten-free, but it's not something, some people have allergies that if they have that thing, their life is at stake in the next 15 minutes. Thankfully, I'm not there with gluten or veganism, so there is, again, some aspect of choice. I'm choosing to eat this way. This is one of, again, literally, and you can tell how well measured and observant I am in what I eat a lot of the time, not every time, but this is the one or maybe one of two products a year I eat in the carb family that are not gluten-free. But these butter rolls heated up from Whole Foods, if you want to sponsor me, or not even the whole company, don't worry about all that bureaucracy. If the butterflake roll making department in Whole Foods wants to sponsor this, okay, let's cut out some of the red tape. Hit me up. I would be very happy to make a video on that. So I mentioned it's one of like one or two things. The other items are, of course, the dessert family. Like that's the second umbrella, I guess. It's really hard to, when you're with people and you go around this and that, you know, it's not something I can't do. But again, it just takes a level of discipline that starts to inconvenience my life. And also, thankfully, dessert for me is not a daily thing. So if I'm having a dessert, you know, every 10 days or every few weeks, whatever the case may be, like intentionally going out for dessert, I'm not going to cry because the dessert I had gluten in it. But when we're talking about the main shops, you can get gluten-free desserts at a lot of boutique bakeries these days. But the main shops, I don't make a fit about it. You know, I know this dessert split amongst all the members of my family is not like I'm gonna, you know, eat 10 pies today and it's like, oh, the gluten bombarded my body. This is a very, I don't know if you can tell because Whole Foods is, you know, on the upscale side, right? So this is not like the Costco size pies. This is the size of my hand, and I will be having maybe a 1/6 to an 1/8 of this dessert and enjoying it. So this is the pecan dessert I purchased, and again, not part of the meal. Like the meal was its own thing. These are top-ups. And this one, I'm trying to remember by looking at it, some sort of crumble based off of the crumbly stuff on top. Do I remember exactly what it was? I want to say peach, cherry, or apple, but probably cherry or apple. Okay, so that's the crumble. Now I told you there was one thing I ordered here that is animal, not just based, it is an animal. And that item, so remember I talked about my everything in moderation concept. Veganism is the bulk of my diet. If I were to say conservatively, so that I leave like so much room for error and you guys aren't coming after me being like, it's adding up, animal, you know, I might say I'm 80% vegan, but realistically it's probably like 90 to 95% vegan. But these videos that we film together just happen to be on like special occasions, like when I did my seafood boil and things like that. So it might come across that when you see me, I'm eating animals and you're like, for a vegan person, you know, like you've sunk the ocean. It's not like that in my daily life. The animal product I ordered this year is the lobster and shrimp tray. Can you guys see that? So there's the lobster claws. Thank God they've come pre-cracked. Thank God. I wouldn't have bought it if they didn't come pre-cracked. There's the 2 dips. They have lemons on top, but they're not just like cups of lemons, they're dips. And oh, it is spilling on my leg. I was wondering what that juice was. That's raw. Or actually not raw, they're cooked. They're obviously pink. But I still don't want like shellfish juice on my body. And so this side is shrimp, if you can see that. Why do I order this? Just a different kind of protein to get in my body and the bodies of my family members. And, you know, just trying to hedge my bets, right? I would feel horrible if 10 years from now studies come out that it's like people that ate only vegan face these extreme circumstances. So I do hedge my bets a little bit as a logical person. But again, within limits, like there are things that I'm veganism by choice owing to the health benefits, yes, but I also have like a lot of mental blockages and issues when it comes to certain foods. Like not eating red meat for me, or not eating chicken, poultry in general, is not necessarily because you might think, why not eat chicken instead of lobster? I mean, it's cheaper, it's more accessible, all of that. Oh, I can't. I just can't do certain animals for reasons that have more to do than just health and diet. And of course, my husband got me flowers. So that was not part of the Christmas catering. But whenever you can, fresh flowers do make a really nice difference. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know if you like this vlog situation. I haven't done this before. And if you did, we'll do it all over again. However you celebrated, whatever you celebrate, I hope you had the best time ever with your family. Ultimately, where your food is coming from, so long as it's clean and healthy, is not the thing that matters the most. What matters the most is that you're clean and healthy. Is that you honestly, is that you're healthy and safe. And I hope every single one of my viewers felt that way for their holiday celebrations. And please do let me know if you like the more vlogging style. I can, you know, right now I have like my phone propped up on the dash. I can invest in like an actual setup because your girl does a lot of the stuff on the daily basis. It's the perks of working for oneself. I wish you the best 2025. Thank you for watching.